Okay, shalom everyone. I think that we can start with what we just ended in our private conversation before we started taping. And indeed, I think one of the frustrations that we're facing is, I'll give you an example. I went to the grocery in our neighborhood, and we love the people there, very nice owners of the grocery shop, and every time I go there, I sit there and talk politics with the owner of the grocery, and both of us were angry, and we let the government have it. And we are fed up with the government. We are fed up with them not moving ahead and finishing the job. And we don't want to hear this station, and we don't want to hear the other station, and we don't want to hear anyone. People are just getting so fed up. And the problem here is that Netanyahu is tied down in negotiations for the release of hostages. And the Arabs are saying, well, we have no intention of handing over hostages. And then they say, yes, we're going to hand over hostages. And then, no, we're not going to hand over hostages. And meanwhile, the Israeli government is continuing preparing for the final push, the final onslaught into Gaza to finish it off. And so we're waiting to see because even today, President Trump said it'll take 2 to 3 weeks for the war to end. We will not have our army in position for the final push for another 2 to 3 weeks. So it's going to be, as usual, very much down to the line, down to the wire, as to exactly what are we going to do and how are we going to do it. And so people are very, you know, people are very, very upset with this non-committal answer. And I think the reason is there's a saying in Hebrew, I think it's also in English, when you're in the middle of a dust storm, you can't see anything. And so we say this war, this battle is now in the middle of a dust storm. So we don't know any decisions that have been made or any decisions that will be carried out. And the military here in Israel is dragging its feet. The military, it seems, is still taking its orders from people in Washington, from the deep state. And so the military is really showing itself to be making mistakes, like the bombing of the Nasser hospital yesterday. It should have been done with a UAV. Instead, it was done with four tank projectiles, which was not the plan. The plan was to have a UAV with exact precision drop a certain small weapon on that camera that was on top of the hospital. And so now everybody's condemning Israel. I think that there was something there in the military which was done on purpose, as usual, to frustrate the prime minister, our prime minister Netanyahu, put Israel in a bad light. And we have been seeing things like this going on from day one. Um, if this were Soviet Russia, we would just have firing squads and finish off these officers who are betraying the government. Because all these officers were handpicked by socialists, Bolsheviks, and it seems like every time we think we found an officer who can do the right job, who says he'll do the right job, the moment he gets appointed, he turns around and lies, and that's what Eyal Zamir has done. He basically got his job after writing a report describing how Gaza would be completely defeated, and he was chosen for the job. And then after he got chosen for the job, he said, "Oh, no, no, we can't do it. We can't do it." So he's taking orders from someone who's not the prime minister, someone out there. And so it's very, very depressing because we do have 50 hostages out there. So there's one of two possibilities, either negotiate or fight. And we're negotiating with people who don't want to negotiate, but they want to stall. Hamas wants to stall. And this whole business of stalling has to end. We have to go in and finish the job. So we'll see what happens. If you ask me, we have we have officers who could lead the battle, and we'd have to fire the chief of staff who has lied and is stabbing the government in the back and preventing us from achieving victory. And then the left says that Netanyahu is incapable of reaching the victory. We're incapable because we have commanding officers who don't want to reach the victory. So we're in a very difficult time right now. I think this will get sorted out pretty soon. Anyway, that's all I had to say today. So I'll say goodbye. Nice to see you. And now we can just tell jokes and have a good time. I do have to say, I do have a piece of good news. Um, uh, as you all know, I've written 7 books. My fourth book, Israel's Bible Block, was written in 2006 when the party had not yet been officially registered. It was a dream still. And I completed about a year and a half ago, the second edition, revised and expanded. And I sent it, I went to 2 different publishers. There are 2 kinds of publishers. There's a publisher who looks at the book, says, this is marketable, it's good, and we'll do it for you. And then there's another kind of publisher that you basically go and you pay the publisher to do the all the work of the publishing. You pay them, and I don't know what financial remuneration there is for me after that. But anyway, so I went to 2 of these publishers that you pay, and a year ago I sent the book to another publisher who's very famous in Israel, and I don't know, they didn't answer. And then I went to the States, as you all know, came back after 2 months. I called them again, and they said, well, we don't know. We didn't receive it. We don't know. I said, well, let me look. I found it, and I sent it to them. Oh, now we see that you indeed sent it, and now we will read it, and we will give you an answer in the coming days or weeks. I don't know. So a very, very well-renowned publisher in Israel has thanked me for sending them the book, and they're going to review the book now. So I said to them, I want the book in English, Hebrew, and Russian. The Hebrew and Russian are for not for making money, but for, getting more votes in the elections. So I'm very happy that the publisher acknowledged that they received the book. And you have to remember, one of the worst things is not getting a yes or a no. One of the worst things is not hearing any responsible answer, yes or no, just like you're hanging in the air. So yesterday, I had the good news that the publisher uh, uh, acknowledged receiving the book, and I had a pretty long chat with the secretary, and I told her what's in the book and that why I think it's publishable. So she got excited, and she's going to speak to the different people who review books in that company. And I've heard this name of this company so many times that I would be very pleased if they did the book. I might have to pay them also. But the other 2 publishers said it would take 9 months to translate my book into Hebrew. And this publisher said it takes 1 month, which makes me happy because that would mean I'd have a better shot at getting it in before the elections. So we don't know if the elections will be exactly in 1 year or 9 months or 6 months or 3 months. So, well, it won't be 3 months because only when the Knesset reconvenes, they all sit down and choose a date if they want to choose a date. But I think Netanyahu and the religious parties are pushing for the full term, meaning October 2026 for the next election a year from now. And so I'll be very happy if my 8th book, which is really the reprinting of my 4th book, is indeed adopted by this publisher. And I'm finishing my accounting for 2004, and then hopefully next week I'll start working on my 8th book, or my 9th book, excuse me, which is about Turkey and the Armageddon, which I've been talking about. So I'm very excited that I came home from a successful trip and things are coming together here, doing my accounting, getting the book recognized and accepted, um, and um, and then working on the book about Lepanto too. I just had this sumptuous lunch with my wife, and so now I'm very thirsty, so I'm drinking a lot. So anyway, if there are any questions or if there are any points, I know there's so much I haven't covered yet, but also I wanted to say that um, we are now being pressured by the United States, and this is not Biden. This is a man who is friendly with us, President Trump, but still he's pushing for us to pull out of Lebanon completely so that we can have diplomatic relations with Lebanon. Um, and we have said that we would consider pulling out of Lebanon once the Hezbollah is completely disarmed. The problem is that Hezbollah has emphatically said they will not be disarmed, which means that this is a non-starter. But the United States is pressuring us to withdraw anyway. So it would be really stupid of us to withdraw because then our border communities will again come under fire from Hezbollah. So I don't know what Netanyahu is going to finally do, but this is one problem. We're being pressured by the United States to withdraw from Lebanon completely, which we really cannot do. And then also we have a problem with Syria that El Jurani, uh, I was shocked today to hear that 1,500 Druze were massacred a few weeks ago, and there's nobody who will defend them except for Israel. So Syria is demanding that we return to the 1974 disengagement lines, uh, which would mean that the Druze would be sitting ducks. And there are hundreds of thousands of them in Syria, and the Syrians would be butchered. They'd be massacred by al-Jurani, the ISIS leader. The United States is supporting an ISIS leader, a man who had a price on his head. So I think that unfortunately, American foreign policy regarding the Middle East has been very flawed, very naive, and so we are now again looking at an impossible situation where the United States is forcing us to leave Syria and leave our Druze brethren undefended, and not just our Druze brethren, the Christians. Um, the Alawites, the Shiites, were never really friends of ours, but now they're begging to be friends of ours. And again, you have the Kurds in the north of Syria, northeast. So the situation is very strange for Israel. And I don't have to tell you, we cannot, at least openly, and at least not at this time, go against what President Trump says. But I think that we can be like Hamas by saying, oh, yes, the answer is yes, but, and with the moment you hear but, you know it's no, because there are additional conditions that Israel has to have before we withdraw from Lebanon and before we withdraw from the south of Syria, if we ever do. So that I think is an interesting point. Another thing, I don't know if you had this in your TV, radio, and the news, but uh, we have a problem now with the Yemenites. The Yemen is continuing to fire at us like crazy, and they launched a missile at us on Friday night, and it was a multi-cluster rocket. And at first, the news was that the rocket basically disintegrated up in the stratosphere. It didn't disintegrate. It had multi-rocket heads. And we are now seeing that Yemen is receiving the most advanced weaponries to fire missiles at us with multi-warheads. So one missile carries multi-warheads, and you know what the problem with that is? Eventually, these multi-warheads can be refitted with nuclear tips. So Israel now actually, because of Iran, because of Biden, because of Russia, because of China, we are getting hit with missiles that until now we've been able to knock them out of the sky way, way up. But now that there are many warheads, we might not be able to do that, and we might be in a much clearer threat of nuclear warheads being aimed at Israel. And of course, the way the world is today, I don't think very much that there will be any kind of pro-Israel um, uh, um, intervention on the side of anyone except for maybe the United States. So that also gives a reason for us that we have no choice but to withdraw from Lebanon and Syria. So things are a little complicated. By the way, I'm happy to see Angela, Claire, and Helen Lenine. So we've got three Anglos. And I saw something very interesting that in the United Kingdom, there were patriotic Christians who wanted to fly the Union Jack, and they were attacked. Hi, Claire. That anyone who flew the Union Jack would get beaten up, and you really could not fly the British flag. And I think the courts also were against the Union Jack. So things are very upside down. Things are very crazy in the UK, and we have to pray very, very much for a Christian revival and for the people of England to really wake up and put their priorities first. Like Trump initiated, make America great again. I would say make England, MEGA, make England great again. But look at the flag. The Union Jack is a cross. It is a Christian flag. And I think it's one of the reasons why the Muslims are demonstrating and preventing
Thank
flying the
you so
Union
much.
Jack. Did you want to
Mm.
say something?
Well, it's horrific.
Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't feel like England anymore. It feels like you live in well, we live in London, so I think London's worse than anywhere else around the country, but it's frightening.
I have to tell you, you know that I was in the United States a few weeks ago, and I had 4 or 5 nights, maybe about 4 miles from Kennedy Airport. So I was like right smack in the center of Queens, which is one of the five boroughs of New York City, and I kind of really got into a certain hotel by mistake. I mean, the hotel was an okay hotel; it wasn't bad, but I would walk out into the street, and all the stores were owned by Muslims. Everyone was talking Arabic, and my wife got very angry with me. I was talking Arabic also. And these people are going nuts with this gray-haired, blue-eyed guy who clearly doesn't look like an Arab. And but I was talking in Egyptian Arabic. I was telling jokes in Egyptian Arabic, and everyone was laughing. And they were saying, "How do you know Arabic?" I said, "Well, I'm American, but my wife is Egyptian." So I didn't say I live in Israel, and I took my kippah off. So, but it was a lot of fun. There was this one pizzeria guy. I see Susan Pellegrini is on with us, and but he had a pizza parlor there, and so it wasn't the pizza that I got out in Patchogue, in your area there, but it was okay pizza, and but the guy was Egyptian, and he actually worked in catering for the synagogue, one of the synagogues there, for 12 years. And he was very friendly to me. It was a good thing. I did have my kippah on, so he knew I was Jewish. He knew I was Israeli. And I'm kind of silly, because I deep down inside of me, I believe in the goodness of people. And this Egyptian pizza guy was very friendly. We were laughing and having a good time and telling jokes in Arabic. And but the thing is, England, I was in England. I think I can be considered correct when I say that most of the mayors in the UK are Muslims.
Mm.
Isn't that true, Claire? Claire and Helene?
Yeah. And Ofsted, which is
Yeah,
over
yeah,
the schools is Muslim. And in the north, where I was from, I was seeing things many years ago. Girls getting taken into cars, many things. And not many people did anything. And now this guy called Chris Hargreaves, who started the Shield, which is people going out on the streets protecting women and children. And then also in the south, in Brighton, the residents have started going out on the streets because it's not safe.
right.
So people actually doing something. But I was saying to the men many years ago, why do you just keep going to the pub? Why don't you go out on the streets, to the parks where the young girls are? Protect them.
Right.
And the police aren't can't be trusted either.
No,
That's the other thing, you know.
no, not at all.
I have to tell you a little story. When I was in Dallas, I stayed with an Israeli gentleman and his wife, and they have an American flag and an Israeli flag hanging on from a tree right outside the door. And one day, some anti-Semites came and spray painted Nazi graffiti on the flag. And so he called the Dallas police, Dallas, Texas, and the Dallas police sent an officer, very nice gentleman, and he looked at the name tag on the policeman's chest. It was a Muslim. So a Muslim was sent to an Israeli house to look at flags which had been splash painted with graffiti. And he said, "Don't worry, I will take good care of you." So in
Quite
Dallas,
sure.
it seems like there are a lot of Muslims in the police force there.
Mm.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Muslims in the Israeli police force also, and in the Israeli army.
Mhm.
And God forbid you should say anything not nice
Yeah.
or attack their so-called religion.
Mhm.
Avi,
Today,
can I ask,
someone, so
sorry, can I ask a question, Avi?
Sure.
I'm very concerned about the hostages. Can you explain a bit more? I don't understand. I mean, is Mossad is like the best secret service in the world. Do they not know where they are, or why doesn't Israel go in and just get them out?
Well, firstly, the Hamas has said very clearly that any attempt by the Israelis to get the hostages out will be met with execution of the hostages. And every hostage is basically guarded by a group of 4 or 5 guards. The Israeli hope is that the guards will surrender in exchange for some kind of mercy, for some kind of um, paid exit to leave. Um, there is no, out of the 50 hostages, at least 30, some people say 32 are dead, and 18 to 20 are still alive, but in very, very bad condition. And so the fear is if Israel goes in by force, they will be sacrificed. And there are a lot of people in Israel today. If you look at the demonstrations in Israel,
Yeah, I've been watching.
which are all paid for by anti-government forces, and many
Mm.
people from the United States and other countries, Europeans, who are paying the demonstrators to
Mm.
demonstrate. And these people are very anti-Israel. They're doing everything they can to make Netanyahu look like a fool, to make him look like he doesn't know what he's doing. And every time Netanyahu pulls a rabbit out of the hat and makes a fool out of them, they hate Netanyahu even more. And there's a lot of Israelis who would prefer to sacrifice Israel just to get rid of Netanyahu. So things are not happy. There's not a
Yeah.
happy mood in Israel right now. And so the question is, do we sacrifice the 50 hostages? Of course, 30 are dead. do we sacrifice them or do we sacrifice the country because of the
Mm.
hostages? And listen, war is war. You know, I don't know what movie this was. It was a movie about World War II, and I think it was the Polish code breakers who were famous in World War II. And the Polish code breakers um, found out where the German U-boats were going to be, and that the German U-boats were going to sink a ship with 1,500 British soldiers and sailors. And uh, my favorite role model, my favorite hero, Winston Churchill, said we cannot use the information to save the ship because then the Germans will know that we broke the code. And the ship was sunk, and
Mm.
1,500 Allied troops died. And so now we're talking about 20 or maybe 18 Israeli hostages who could die as a result of the Israeli army going in. And there are a lot of people who are saying, hey, listen, war is war. And if we bomb the heck out of the Hamas, listen, the British were not handing food out for free to Nazi Germany, to the
True.
SS. And why is Israel being expected to feed the enemy? And they're all enemy. There is not even one in Gaza who's pro-Israel. In World War II, there were many countries that were cooperating with the Nazis. And but in every one of those countries where Jews were sent to the concentration camps, there were many Christians who defended the Jews with their lives. They hid the Jews, they defended the Jews. In Gaza, not even one is standing
That's
up
true.
with the
That's
Jews.
true.
Why? Because Islam is not a religion. Islam is a criminal Nazi psychosis bent on
Mm.
the destruction of the entire human race. And
Mm.
so I don't know. I personally would say I don't want to use the F word, but I don't care about anything anymore. Go in, finish the job. Israel cannot wait
Exactly.
another 12 months or 6 months or 3 months.
Mm.
Israel has to go in right now with
Mm.
whatever we have and finish the job.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about going in to get the hostages. I'm talking about going in to wipe out the Hamas.
Mm.
And then those Muslims who are not wiped out should be sent on the first planes and ships to Indonesia or Somalia or South Sudan. There are a lot of countries that will take them in.
Is
So
it true? Sorry. Is it true
well,
that Hamas are descendants of the Amalekites?
listen, my dear. Amalekite is a Nazi. Hitler supposedly came from the Amalekites. But it's
Really?
not just Hitler. All the enemies of Israel are considered Amalekites. So Haman and Purim,
Mm.
Amalekite.
Mm.
Um, all these Muslim Nazis who came from all over the world and settled in Gaza or settled in Palestine, and now they want to wipe out. They don't want a state. They just want to wipe out the Jews.
Exactly.
And there are many people who are coming out today and saying it's not about Israel or Zionism. It's about killing the Jews everywhere in the world. That's a
Mhm.
religious mandate,
Mhm.
or shall I say, an Islamic psychotic mandate.
And Christians as well. They want to annihilate Christians.
And another thing, kill the Jew on Saturday, kill the Christian on Sunday. And you're
Mhm.
going to see in Europe, God forbid, but what you see happening now with Hamas, with us, you're going to see this in every European country. You're going to see it in America and Canada and in Latin America. This is Islam is a cancer which is metastasizing in every country of the world.
Mm.
Anyway, that's you're asking my opinion. That's what I always say. I got a 3-year jail sentence in Switzerland, of which I'm very proud. It was commuted to 10 years probation. Um, the Christian EDU party paid the fine, and so but I've never gone back to Switzerland. Okay, regarding Judea Samaria, Lori Bond asks about the sovereignty. Um, uh, I think you've been listening, Lori, from the very first. We have a problem. We have two problems. We have a problem first. What happens if we declare sovereignty and all of a sudden the whole world turns on us? We live in Ma'ale Adumim area. And now all of a sudden, the government, after 25 years of holding back, holding back, holding back, the government now has decided to build 3,400 houses or apartments and to declare sovereignty, to annex the area. So there will be a steamroller effect by the European countries that are so afraid of the Muslims, so afraid of Islamic civil war in their countries, that they're all ganging up on Israel. But the next question is, and God forbid, what happens after Trump is gone? So, Trump, God willing, will serve his full 3.5 years. I want him there all the time. I don't know who will be president after Trump. But when you have New York City elections and this crazy, crazy Muslim communist by the name of Mamdani, this is a sign of the times. This is where America is going. And for those of you from the UK, we just spoke about it. UK is going in that direction. France is going in that direction. The Christian ship is sinking, and nobody wants to call a spade a spade. Nobody wants to do anything about it. And what we're doing in Gaza basically is a war in favor of Christianity in Europe and in America and in the world. So only God knows. But sovereignty, we can declare sovereignty, but there will be a pushback of a steamroller effect against us. And then you have to ask who's going to stand with Israel. Even many Jews will be against us for their own ignorance reasons.
Hi, Avi.
Yes, Angela.
Hello there. I have a
Hi.
question. I was just reading about a drone from Egypt on the Gaza border, which was shot down, and it was carrying 4 machine guns. Are you able to say who might have sent that up and where those were
Well,
potentially
I
going into
will
the hands of?
I will give you an answer to the question you did not ask.
Mm,
We have a problem now also on our eastern border with Jordan.
right.
And until now, what we saw was there would be UAVs, drones carrying machine guns.
Mm,
But the Israelis developed countermeasures against those. And so now, from the Jordanian side, they're sending over balloons, which are motorized. And so the balloons can carry much heavier equipment. And they're sending these balloons over the border into Israel to be used by the Muslim terrorists.
hmm
And I think probably this is what's happening with Egypt also. You have a whole bunch of countries and Muslim terrorists who are working together on sending weapons into Israel to be, hopefully, according to their plan, received by the terrorists and then used against Israel.
right. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if there is any commentary on Israeli news inside Israel regarding the 40,000 Egyptian troops amassed on the border of Gaza. Obviously, the Egyptians don't want any of the Hamas and Palestinians coming into Egypt.
Yes,
Do you-
it's in our news. It's in our news.
right.
And the official answer, which is very non-committal, was that Egypt has to coordinate all their moves according to the peace agreement between Egypt and Israel. In other words, the Egyptians have a certain limit as to how many troops they can bring in to
Right.
reinforce the ones they have. It didn't say yes or no. It just said that there is a peace agreement.
Mm. Presumably, then they think to have done that, that they are anticipating that Israel will go in.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah, we will. Yeah. Thank you, Avi.
I wish
Avi,
I
you,
could say, I wish I could say my pleasure, but it's not a
I
pleasure
know, it's not a
to have to
pleasure.
say these
No.
things, but I'm watching the news. My
Yeah.
wife and I are fed up. I go to the grocery store. He's fed up. Nobody wants to watch any of the stations
Mm,
anymore because it's kind of like, if you remember Gulliver's Travels,
mm,
we are like the giant that's
mm.
being pinned down by these little, pygmies who are tying us
Yeah,
up and not
yeah,
allowing us to move.
yeah.
But you know what? If you
It's
believe in God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you know that all the solutions are in God's hands.
amen. Sure there are. And we're praying for all of you and all of Israel and the
Amen.
hostages all the time, every day.
Amen. Thank you.
And we feel that it's tiring, and goodness knows what it's like for the Israeli people inside Israel. It's yeah, it's a long time, and we're watching and praying, and just want to say, our hearts are with you, and just bless you all there.
It's one of the reasons why I love doing these Zooms with you guys, to know that I know that the ones I love the most are the ones who love us, and you're with us.
Yeah, yeah. There's lots of people love you.
Thank
Honestly,
you. Thank you.
we're meeting every week.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Avi, you mentioned you were writing a book about Armageddon.
Right.
Do you think we're coming close to the Gog and Magog war?
Well, I do. I don't think it's today or tomorrow, but you have to remember that El Julani, Ahmed Ashara in Damascus, is a puppet of the Turks. And even if he doesn't want to do exactly as the Turks say, he has to do what they're saying. And the Turks are ready to send their whole army to Damascus. And Israel has warned Al Julani that from Damascus south is an Israeli zone of influence. And north of Damascus, they can do whatever they want. But our job is to protect the Druze, the Christians, the Alawites, and the Kurds, and prevent them from being massacred by these ISIS Sunni terrorists. The Turks are not going to attack us immediately just yet. What I'm saying is, my book is called Lepanto 2, and I think I've mentioned the importance of Lepanto in history, that in 1571, the Catholic navies of Spain, Genoa, and Venice it was called the Holy Alliance, and they sank the whole Turkish fleet at Lepanto. And so the Christians, the Catholics, won the battle, but they lost the war because, as an indemnity, they had to cede Cyprus, which was Italian, cede Cyprus to the Turks, and they had to rebuild the whole fleet. And so the Catholics had to rebuild the whole Turkish fleet. What I'm saying is, and I go into depth in my book as to the Israeli involvement in Cyprus today and Greece, and that I believe that the Israeli Navy will sink the entire Turkish Navy in one battle. And so we will win the battle. We will not lose the war, but this will ignite a holy war. And don't forget, you're talking about Turkey's 100 million Turks. Then you have 200 million Turkic Muslims in the republics that broke away from Russia. That's 300 million. Then you've got a million or so, 2 million Indonesians and Muslims from India, Muslims from Malaysia, Muslims from all over the world are going to flock to Istanbul and get ready for the war with Israel. And again, this is one of the reasons why I work so hard for the Christians and for the Christian revival, because if you guys don't have a revival, we don't got a survival. We have to have Christian forces marching with us. And don't think that this is something people in Israel even understand.
Yeah.
And one of the
Get that.
purposes of my eighth book about the Bible Bloc Party is to get ready for Israel doubling its population, getting 10 million immigrants, of which 6 million are Jews and 4 million are Christian. Don't think people in Israel see my idea as a popular idea. But if we get 10 million Judeo-Christian immigrants coming, this helps to level the playing field. So I would say we're talking about 10, 15, 20 years for this Armageddon battle.
Wow.
Many of my Christian friends say the war we are in now is the Psalm 83 war, but it's not the
Yes.
Armageddon war. It's not the Armageddon war.
Yeah, I've
Not
heard
yet.
that.
So anyway, as soon as I finish my accounting this week and I get some kind of an answer from the publishers about the Bible Block second edition book, I nail myself down and don't get up till I finish the book on Turkey and the Armageddon. I'll tell you something. Sometimes I think I'm crazy because I don't see anyone talking about it like I do.
No, I know.
In other words, I don't really have any competition. So sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're not happy when you have no competition. You think, am I really saying something that makes sense? But I think I am making sense. The bottom line is that all glory goes to God, and God is going to win this battle. We just have to make the decision: are we on God's side or not? I met with a very senior Vatican official here in Jerusalem, and I introduced myself, and he said, if the purpose of your Judeo-Christian party is to wage war against the Muslims, then the Vatican absolutely opposes what you're doing. So the Vatican is definitely against my idea of a Judeo-Christian alliance.
Of course. What's new?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I mean, you have a prophetic eye, and
I think
a
the writing is
prophet.
on the wall. The writing is on the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 And some will see it and some cannot see it, even when it's
Most,
pointed out. Yeah.
most cannot. But
No.
I'm hoping when the my book about the party in the second edition gets published, and when the second book that I'm writing now, or total of 9 books, when that gets published, I will probably get onto TV and I'll get lambasted from every direction.
I'm looking forward to that book.
Yeah,
I
me
can't
too.
too. Yeah.
Me too.
Amen.
Avi, what about any prospects for Christians there in Israel joining up with the Judeo-Christian movement politically?
Well,
I mean, do you have any leaders in any of the Christian communities there that are showing any interest?
let me say, I'm going to say some very pompous, bombastic things now.
Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, what's new? Uh, um, I think that after the 2,000 years of Catholic and Orthodox Christian massacres of the Jews, and the inability of Jewish leaders and rabbis to understand the positive metamorphosis that took place in England and in America and Canada, where the Anglo countries never killed Jews. And so the people here in Israel, the Jewish people in Israel, come either from Soviet socialist, anti-Christian, anti-Jewish thinking, and the Jews who came from Muslim countries are also anti-Christian. And we just don't got no Anglo-Saxon Protestant Jews. But when 6 million Jews come from America with 4 million Christian spouses, this will give a positive balance to the Israeli population. But it will take time, and it will take rabbis with a very advanced way of thinking, open-mindedness, to understand that if we do not have Christian allies, then we will just be marching off to the next gas chambers. We have to have Christians with us, and there are Christians who love us, so why don't we love them? If we want to just think about Holocausts and murder of Jews over 2,000 years, we might be right, but we might be dead right. And the Messiah is coming or returning to Israel, not only for the Southern Baptists. He's coming for everyone. So we got to do our homework and clean up the ship here. So I don't know if I answered your question, Laurie, but what I'm saying is that it's not easy to overcome the damage that has been caused by 2,000 years of violence and murder against Jewish people by the European Christians, by the non-Protestant ones.
Yeah, that's I mean, extremely understandable from the Jewish side, but there's a fair amount of Christian leaders and Messianic Jews in Israel that could hopefully see the vision for a Judeo-Christian influence in politics.
Well, let me say one thing. I have created a party of Jews, Christians, and Messianics. I have led them in 5 elections. Our average in each election was 400 votes. These are people who I could say swear by me. But there are a lot of Messianics. I've spoken to them. They signed up as supporters of the party on day one. And then when I asked them, did you vote? They said, we voted for Netanyahu because we don't want Netanyahu's government to fall to the socialists. I said, but if you don't vote for the Judeo-Christian party, everything I did was for naught. So there are, according to my understanding, I got 400 votes, mostly from Messianics. I think we have about 10, 15, 20,000 Messianics, but most of them don't know me. And most of the Messianic group leaders think only about what's good for their little group. They don't have the overall vision for a Judeo-Christian alliance. So that's regarding the Messianics. The Christian churches in Israel are still what would you call triumphalist, and that the Jews are only temporarily here. So to come to the Christians and say, well, we Jews and Christians should march arm in arm, they said, no, you're not going to be saved. We're going to be saved. So like, excuse expression, there's a lot of crap in the minds of Christian people and a lot of crap in the minds of Jewish people. And we have to have a total purging of all this thinking. I'm hoping that if and when my book comes out, that people start thinking. And listen, it took me almost 20 years to get the party registered and running, up and running. 20 years. It'd take 20, 30, 40 years before Jews and Christians can overcome the hatreds of 2,000 years. So there are a lot of people who are saying, no, we don't want Christians. Yeah, but I'm saying to them, it's not up to you to want them or not. God wants them. If God wants them in Israel with the Jews, it's going to happen.
Aren't most of the Christians there Palestinian Christians?
Okay, that's a good question. The answer is no. 2% are what you'd call Palestinian Christians, 2%. 6% are Russian-speaking non-Jews. Some are atheists, some are this or that. But I'm not talking about 2% or 6%. I'm talking about the millions of American Jews and Christians who will be making Aliyah. And so I think, without being too pompous and bombastic, the book is a book about the future. But the future is now. And when Israel doubles its population, goes from 8 million to 18 million Jews and Christians, if my wife doesn't kill me in the meanwhile, I'll be the prime minister.
Your wife is a lovely lady.
Oh, sure. Listen, I get my best lines from her.
I know.
I don't know if you guys in the UK heard of Rodney Dangerfield, but he was a very, very popular comedian.
Yeah.
And he was always saying, my mother-in-law doesn't respect me, my wife doesn't respect me, my kids don't respect me. So he's always joking about respect, so I don't get no respect.
one of the things that the Catholic Church believes, which is kind of what Protestantism has all fell into, is they reject Zionist Israel. They do not recognize Israel as a nation. Rather, the new Israel is the church. The old covenant is fulfilled by Yeshua, and the promised land is the spiritual inheritance of all who are baptized. And so when they in their pulpits, they're saying Israel is a religious nation, but not a Jewish nation. It is that, and so that filters down. That's why you've got all these people in the churches who are saying, well, it's not necessarily that it's Zionism, it's totally different. And that is from the Pope back in in 1993, where they issued a statement and left it there.
Well, I have to tell you, without going into what this church or that church says, I need 150,000 votes to get my first four candidates in. In other words, it's not just me. I mean, I'm running with a list of 8, but either I get in with the other 3, the first 4, or no one gets in. I need 150,000 votes. I get 400 votes. Now, I could get in if I got to the Russian voters, Russian speakers. By the way, when I say Russian voters, it means Ukrainians also who hate the Russians, but they all speak Russian. So if I need 150,000 votes, and there are 400,000 non-Jewish Russian speakers in Israel. 400,000. So I want to get at least 150,000. So I have to tell you, my wife and I were talking about the COVID-19 vaccination, and we were talking about how we don't want to get vaccinated, and we decided we're not going to get vaccinated. And so anyway, I heard that this is really, really wonderful Messianic group in Eilat. Eilat is a beautiful tourist town on the southern tip of the country. And I spoke to the leader of one of these Russian speaker, very important Messianic group. And he said to me, okay, listen, talk to my daughter. She'll reserve you a room in one of the hotels. So I called her and she set me up a room. And then she said to me, oh, by the way, did you get your vaccination? I said, no, we oppose the vaccination. So then you can't come to Eilat because you cannot come into the city without the vaccination. So I got vaccinated so that I could go and campaign for the party. I said, if God is going to kill me with the vaccination, so be it. So I got the vaccination. I went to Eilat, and I met with the leader of the group, one of the ladies who was a spokesperson, and I did a taping for like 4 people. And he used the taping to be sent to other Russian-speaking congregations. And then I didn't hear from him. So a few months later, I came back to Eilat with my wife. We were on vacation. I called him. I said, can we meet? He said, sure. So we went out to have dinner. Very friendly guy. And he said to me, listen, Avi, we cannot support your party because we don't believe in politics. Our Messianic group only wants to praise Yeshua, and we don't want to get into this filth of politics. So I have a joke for you. By the way, that's the Russians. Russians don't have any political viewpoint. They don't want to know. So the joke is, they asked 4 guys the following question. Excuse me, sir, what is your opinion about the meat shortage? So the American says, I don't understand the question. What's a shortage? Americans never heard of a shortage. The Polak says, what is meat? Meat shortage. So supposedly the Polish don't know what meat is. The Russian said, what is an opinion?
Yeah.
Because Russians don't have an opinion about anything. That's ingrained from them from Stalin. And the Israeli said, what is excuse me, sir? That is the
Oh, it's
definition of
brilliant.
chutzpah. So my point is, it's very hard. I'm thinking of strategies how to get into Russian-speaking churches and messianic groups. That is the key to getting into the election. But at this stage, I'm marching very, very slowly. I'm getting my book out hopefully in a month or two in Hebrew. And I have a feeling the publisher, if they take the book in Hebrew, they'll say we're going to do English also. And then they can do Russian just as easily. Once the book is in Russian, that's when we're going to start getting tens of thousands of votes. Will we pass the threshold in this next election in a year from now? I don't think so. But I think we're going to go up from 400. We're going to go maybe to 4,000 or 40,000. Still not, but we're getting there. We're getting closer. And then all of a sudden, there's going to be a tsunami of immigration from the West, of Jews who come from Jews, and 80% intermarriage. That means 6 million marry 4 million Christians or non-Jews. Then my party becomes the biggest party. So the question is, will God allow me to live not 1 more year, but 5 more years? Or whenever the next elections will be. Not this next election, but one after. Listen, I'm in this for the rest of my life. And so as long as God gives me breath, that is a confirmation that I'm doing the right thing. And if God takes me, well, I've done my job.
Amen. Yeah.
Anyway, I hope I'm not too bombastic, too pompous.
No.
Not at all.
I think that's just the way I see it.
Funnily enough, I was speaking to a Russian in the class this morning, and the question was asked in all different nationalities. Do you speak about this? Do you speak about that? Do you speak about politics? And I think she's 18, and she said, no. Are your parents? No. Does anybody? No.
The Russians,
Nobody speaks about politics or anything of the such.
I have another joke for
Yeah.
you. This joke I have not told maybe in 50 years. Do you remember the comedian, Jewish comedian, Danny Kaye? He was very popular in America in the 60s. Anyway, so he was telling a joke about what is happiness. So the British guy says, oh, well, with a British accent, for me, happiness is eating Yorkshire pudding, sitting by the fireside, and my trusty dog sitting next to me. That's happiness. The Frenchman says, for me, happiness is sipping wine with my girlfriend, and she's sitting on my lap, and we're eating cheese from the southern provinces. That's happiness. The German says, for me, happiness is eating a Frankfurter and sauerkraut, and that's happiness. And the Russian says, for me, happiness is when the secret police knocks on my door. If I can tell them I am not Ivan Ivanovich, Ivan Ivanovich lives upstairs. If I can tell them this, that's happiness.
Oh boy.
Because in those days, it was horrible in Russia. Anybody could, denounce you, and you just go to jail for 10, 20 years. That was Russia under Stalin.
Yeah.
I have one more joke. Since we're already at the end of the hour, at least give you a laugh. An American tourist goes to Moscow as a tourist, and then in the middle of the night, he has suddenly terrible, terrible toothache. And he's yelling and hollering, and he's suffering, and the KGB has their listening devices everywhere. So they hear the guy yelling. They send the secret police. And they take him to a state dentist. And they pull the tooth out. He really had a problem. They pulled the tooth out, and they gave him a bill for $1,000. He said, $1,000 just to pull out a tooth? He said, what's so difficult about pulling a tooth? Oh, he said, no. In Russia, it's very complicated. Because in Russia, we pull the tooth out through the ear. So he said, why do you pull it out through the ear? Why don't you just pull it out through the mouth? He says, because in Russia, if you open your mouth, you go to Siberia for 20 years. That's Cold
my
War
goodness.
joke.
Oh, Russians.
I've got all these Cold War jokes. You won't believe it. But you know what?
Oh,
The Russians who come to Israel, they're very careful about what they open their mouth and they say. You know why? Because the rabbis will be running after them and then kicking them out of the country. Because
Mm.
I'm calling for representation for all Christian Israelis.
well done, Abby.
Yeah, well done.
Anyway, listen, I'm having a good time. Fills up my life. I sleep very well at night. So what more do I want?
I just wanted to mention, I got sent a video today. My friend's on a boat on the Spain side. She said, check this out, Claire. The mosque, they built a mosque on Gibraltar and it's massive. And Gibraltar's what really small. I don't know how big it is, but it's very, very small. This mosque is massive.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. My wife and I were in Spain. We drove across into Gibraltar and we went to the southernmost tip of Spain,
Yeah.
of Iberia, the
Yeah.
southernmost tip, which is where this mosque is. And they said we built the mosque so big because we are expecting a wave of Muslim immigration that will come and pray here.
Massive.
We are digging in here in Spanish territory, reclaiming it as Andalus.
Wow.
I was there. I know what you're talking about.
Mm.
Exquisite mosque.
Wow.
I have pictures. We took pictures of it when we
Yeah,
were there.
yeah. She sent me a video and it's right next to the lighthouse, isn't it? Not
Yeah.
lighthouse or the yeah. Mm, big place.
We live in the country, down, and the village beside us, the mosque, a small Methodist church has become a mosque. But on Friday and Saturday, you can't drive down the roads because literally there's thousands of people in hijabs and all the gear. Um, it feels like you're not in England anymore, you're in Pakistan. You can't get across the road. You can't literally drive around the roads. They're obviously coming from other areas, you know. But I think it was you that said, Abby, the mosque becomes like a community center and
Right.
everything comes out of the mosque, doesn't it?
Right.
It's not a religious center, it's domination rather than integration, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an everything center.
Yeah.
It's very frightening.
Mm.
I don't know, 35 years. I've written, 8 books. I've been warning and warning and warning, and I don't know if any good will come out of it because people don't believe it. And then when
And
they
it's
when they started to believe it, it's too late.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I want you to know I'm very honored that I've got you in the UK and Claire in Malta and Angela in Jersey. And that's a pretty good representation on the Zoom, let me tell you.
Thank you.
Well,
Avi, that's why when you were here, I wanted you to start from square one, what you taught us over 20 years ago, laying the foundation, understanding Islam, because nobody understands, not that they understand the religion, it's hard to change your whole mind thinking that who my neighbor is and who my friend is, oh, they're nice and they'll never do that. It's really hard to get that mindset that, yeah, don't be naive and don't be deceived. So that foundation needed to be laid again. And I started before you came, I continued after, and people said they just absolutely never saw it that way. They never understood it. So it's just a handful by a handful that get that revelation that it's not a peaceful religion and that they are liars,
You know, I
mandated
read
to lie. Yeah.
I read an interesting article on the internet like 2 or 3 days ago that 8% of the Black community in New York City opposed Mamdani. 8% support him. 92% of the Blacks are against Mamdani, and they're saying that we see right through his lies, and he's not good for the black people. And then there's the Hispanics. A lot of Hispanics in New York City come from Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and other countries that have become socialist hellholes. And they're not stupid either. The Hispanics are also, many of them are very devout Christians. And so this man is very dangerous. And now there is talk of the Jewish community in Brooklyn, in New York City, getting organized. So I'm hoping that he can be defeated. But anyone who is maybe a little less crazy, who look respectable, might indeed one day win the New York mayoralty race. And one day, well, you already had a Muslim president, it was Obama, but everything was by stealth. Nobody could believe,
That's
you
right.
know, that he was
Yeah.
a Muslim born in Africa, and Mamdani is an African Muslim.
Terrifying.
You know, I think that the main problem is that it takes a thief to know a thief. And I'm a thief. You guys are not thieves. You don't understand it because you don't live in that world. I live here in the Middle East, and Rachel is my teacher. She's showing me all the way they lie and they do all these things just to destroy.
Well, really, Israel is fighting a war for the whole world, isn't? But we're not really
Yes,
appreciative, you know.
correct, correct.
Could I quickly just ask you one question? Sorry, this isn't. Are you following what's happening with Bolsonaro and Trump?
Well, firstly, Bolsonaro is in jail now, I think, or he's under house arrest.
He's under house arrest.
And Lula da Silva won the elections by cheating. And
Exactly.
the judges who got him out of jail were corrupt and bribe taking, and Bolsonaro was just honest, and that's why he lost. So
Yeah,
it's going to, and listen, at some stage, the pendulum will swing back. And I think
I
that
hope so.
either Bolsonaro or some other born again Christian will rise to the fore and become president. And don't forget, you've got Milei in Argentina.
Yes.
Paraguay is pro-Israel. Uruguay is pro-Israel. Um, um, I don't know if you heard about this. It was in the internet. You have the Abraham Accords uh,
Mhm.
with the Arab countries, and Milei is behind this new thing and this new program called the Isaac Accords, which will get all of the Latin American countries together to support Israel.
Yes.
So this is
Mm.
a
Yes.
very, very big uphill battle for Milei. Now they're
Mhm.
trying to convict Milei of corruption. But of
Yes.
course, Argentina is all corruption, if you
It
know the
is.
history of Argentina
It
like I do.
is.
But listen, I'm very optimistic by character, but it may be that a lot of blood will be spilled by the
Mhm.
Muslims, and then, going against the Muslims. The pendulum always swings back and forth. So, stay faithful, just pray a lot, be active, and hopefully we will see the victory together.
I pray so.
That a wrap?
Okay, Lori, I think it was an interesting meeting.
Very.